What's up guys, Salar here, and today I'm going to be going over the formula to fat loss. So today we're going to get into 5 steps that you all should be taking, which you probably aren't, in order to successfully melt off fat. And make sure you guys watch until the very end because the last tip, along with the first one, is definitely by far the most important and is probably the one that most of you guys are going to mess up on. But the first rule is that the golden rule of fat loss is being in a calorie deficit, which essentially means burning more calories than your body consumes in a given day. When you burn this many calories in a given day and you're only eating this much, well, in order to compensate for this lack of energy, your body is literally forced to tap into its fat reserves to be able to compensate for that lack of energy, like I said. If you burn 2,500 calories in a given day and you eat 2,000 calories worth of donuts versus 3,000 calories worth of salad, you're gonna lose more weight on the donuts. Now, I'm not telling you to go eat 2,000 calories of donuts, but I just want to make sure that every single one of you guys understands that, because at the end of the day, this is the most important rule of fat loss. If you are not eating less than what you burn in a day, then you're not going to be successfully losing fat. It seriously is that simple. It just comes down to being in a calorie deficit, which leads me to my second point. In order to actually be in a calorie deficit, you need to determine your caloric maintenance, which in other words is essentially how many calories that you need to take in every day to maintain your own body weight. In order to do this, an actually very simple equation that works pretty well is multiplying your body weight in pounds by 15. So for example, I weigh 165 pounds. So when I multiply 165 by 15, it means that I should be eating roughly 2,475 calories per day. Now, in reality, I actually burn 2,700 to 2,800 calories a day, so it is important to adjust. The way that I recommend going about this is eat at whatever number that this equation yields for 7 days and weigh yourself every single morning as soon as you wake up. And I want to emphasize the importance of doing it the second you wake up before you eat any food or before you drink any water. Because if you weigh yourself once in the morning and let's say you're 170, you could weigh yourself at the end of the day when you've eaten and drinking all your food and water, and you could be 5 entire pounds heavier. So in order to get a consistent measure of how many calories you're burning in a day, you need to make sure you're weighing yourself at the same times. So I recommend in the morning right when you wake up. Throughout the course of this week, if you put on weight, then it means that the number you calculated was too high. So try adjusting the calories and bumping them down by 1 to 200. And contrarily, if you lost weight over the course of this week, then the number you calculated was too low. So try bumping the calories up 1 to 200. A very big fitness fallacy that I want to clear up really quick is slow metabolisms. For the most part, that is all bullshit. Your metabolism is very fixed on your height, your weight, your muscle mass, the amount of fat you have on your body, and it really doesn't change that much. There are 4 primary factors that influence how many calories you expend in a given day, with only 2 of them exhibiting a small bit of variability. So it is actually very interesting. If you do want me to make a video about that and discuss it, I can just comment down below and I will. But for the most part, your metabolism is very fixed on your height, your weight, the amount of muscle you have, and the amount of fat you have. After understanding that you need to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose fat, and after determining your maintenance, you have to find the right caloric deficit to ensure smooth and effortless fat loss. If you set your calories too low, you're not gonna have any energy, you're not gonna be able to support lean muscle, you're not gonna be able to sustain recovery from your workouts, and honestly, you're a lot more likely to cheat. If you're not eating enough food, the only thing you're gonna be thinking about is eating more. You're gonna get cravings, and it's gonna be a lot harder to stick to and adhere to your calories. On the other side of things, if you set your calories too high, then you're simply not gonna lose fat as quickly as you should be. It's all about finding this sweet spot, this middle ground that you can lose fat fast enough while supporting and sustaining muscle growth. For those of you who don't know, there are 3,500 calories in a single pound of fat. So theoretically, if you eat at a 500 calorie deficit every single day, you'll lose a pound of fat a week. 500 calories less every single day for 7 days. So 500 times 7, 3,500 calories a week. In reality, even if you are eating at a 500 calorie deficit, the rate of fat loss is going to be a lot quicker at first due to that initial shock to your body. But you'll see that as you continue this calorie deficit over time, the rate of fat loss begins to slow down a little bit and does begin to plateau. Generally, I recommend a 20% deficit. So using the number that you calculated for your maintenance in the previous step, just multiply that by 0.8. And this generally yields a great number to be in an aggressive deficit, but not aggressive enough to where it's inducing cravings or it's not able to support enough muscle growth. Well, like I said earlier, I burn around 2,800 calories in a given day. So if I'm eating at a 20% deficit, I just have to multiply 2,800 by 0.8, which gives me around 2,250. So if I want to eat at a 20% deficit, I would have to eat around 2,250 calories every single day. Generally, a 20% deficit is perfect for smooth yet quick fat loss. Now, this level might be a little low for some of you, so if you have to add in 100 calories back to that number, and it makes you a lot more likely to stick to it, then that's completely fine. Now, an important thing I want to emphasize is that the more body fat you have, the larger deficit your body can handle. And this essentially just comes down to fat availability. So when you're in a greater deficit, you have more fat availability. So your body has more fat to spare. Now, although it's not necessary, if you have a lot of fat to lose and you're really serious about dropping it, then since you can handle a slightly larger deficit, I would take that number, 20% of your deficit, and then just subtract an extra 100 calories. Like I said, it's not necessary, but if you have more fat to lose and you want to really get rid of it, I would recommend a slightly larger deficit, just because my body can support a greater deficit due to that fat availability. The fifth step that is guaranteed to get you ripped is setting up your macros, which is essentially how you partition your calories between proteins, fats, and carbs. You always want to be prioritizing your protein. That's what's going to support your muscle recovery and support your lean mass. Studies have conclusively shown that around 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight is more than sufficient in supporting and sustaining muscle growth. So for someone like me who weighs 165 pounds, you just multiply that by 0.8, which is 132 grams of protein every single day. As long as I'm hitting that number, I can really fuck around with the fats and carbs. I can fill in the remaining calories that I have left for fats and carbs. It's very important to get an even amount of both, but at the end of the day, as long as I'm hitting my calorie numbers and as long as I'm hitting my protein numbers, I have a lot of room to work with the fats and carbs. Now, that being said, I never, ever recommend cutting out one single thing, whether that be carbs or fats or sugars. What you're essentially doing is training your body to build an immunity to it so that when you do reintroduce it into your diet, you're not going to be able to metabolize it and utilize it as a source of energy. So if you cut out carbs and then you finally start eating carbs again, well, you're just going to blow up and get very bloated because your body doesn't know how to metabolize that. And the same thing for fats. If you don't eat fats for a very long time, the second that you reintroduce it into your diet, your body's just going to store all of that as fat because your body doesn't know how to utilize it for energy. Now, the final step that is most important in conjunction with the first one, and is the one that you guys are most likely to fuck up, is actually tracking your calories and tracking the amount of food that you're eating in a day. Every step that we just did before this is preliminary planning. The actual tracking is how you successfully execute the fat loss. You can set the right calories and set the right protein, but at the end of the day, you have to actually hit this number to exhibit fat loss. And you're never actually gonna know if you're doing that if you don't track the amount of calories you're eating in a day. When first starting out, I seriously recommend using an app like MyFitnessPal. It seriously facilitates tracking and makes it a lot easier, more accurate, and quicker. You can search up any quantity of any food imaginable. You can save meals based on how frequently you eat those meals, and you can even scan the barcode on some food boxes to be able to log those calories, which is gonna make it a lot easier and a lot quicker. And not only is it gonna help you accurately and efficiently track your calories, but it's gonna familiarize yourself with the nutritional info of the foods that you're eating most frequently. The reason I keep saying that this is probably the most difficult step and the one that you guys aren't going to adhere to as well is because it's a very tedious and very redundant process. I don't expect you guys to constantly weigh out everything you're eating and in the long term, keep continuously tracking all the foods you're eating. That's just absolutely ridiculous. And remember, fitness is never ever supposed to detract from your life. And if you're constantly weighing and tracking every single thing and worrying about it every single second of the day, then it's really gonna take a lot of time, energy, and focus out of your life, which is not at all what we wanna be doing. So in order to help you guys, I'm gonna be coming out with an awesome video next week about how to simplify the entire tracking process and make it fucking automatic. You're gonna be able to easily and quickly and accurately track all the foods that you're eating without having to constantly worry about it. It's going to facilitate the entire process and make it so that, like I said, it's automatic. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I want you guys to all start implementing these 5 simple yet super effective steps that are guaranteed to get you shredded. Hit that like and subscribe button down below. Comment all your questions. Like I said, hit me up on Instagram. I will answer every single DM I get, every single question. And stay tuned for my video next week on how to facilitate tracking and make it super fucking simple, super automatic to the point where you don't even have to worry about it. So thank you guys again. I appreciate it.